The little girl steps up to Santa, her mittened hands clutching an old teddy bear whose seams are coming apart. "Can you give him to another kid?" she whispers, voice trembling but steady. At the back of the line, a man in a red suit pauses mid-step, his coffee cup shaking just slightly. He doesn't know why yet, but something in that moment knocks the air out of him. Where in the world are you watching this right now? Tell me in the comments and then lean in, because what happened next is a Christmas story you won't forget. The line to see Santa snakes past a perfume counter that smells like snow falling through roses. Cold and sweet and fake. Parents juggle cups of pretzel bites, toddlers slide on puffy coats, and the speaker overhead keeps glitching. Jingle bell, jingle gin. It buzzes, then comes back like it's embarrassed anyone noticed. Nora is 5 and small enough that her hat sits too low on her eyebrows. She keeps tugging it up with mittened, clumsy hand. Her other hand holds a bear that looks like it survived a war and took up knitting to cope afterward. One ear is half gone. Stuffing sighs out through a seam. The bear's button eyes don't match. She has named him Captain Buttons because some names just stick. She is talking to him in the way kids talk when adults are looking elsewhere. "We're not scared of talking to him," she whispers, peering around a man in a glittery reindeer sweater. "We got this, Captain. I know what to say." Her mother tries to hide a cough in the crook of her arm. It's one of those coughs that drags a little at the end, like it wants to stay. "Almost our turn," she says, trying to be cheerful. Her name is Rosa, and since October her laugh has been a thin thing stretched between 2 nails, rent and hours. She cleans offices at night and the mall on weekends. She counts coins in her head while she stands there and tells herself it's fine. From his velvet throne, Santa watches the line with a stillness that doesn't look like the store Santas on TV. He is older than the plastic holly around him, but not ancient, and his eyes are the color of coffee with a drip of milk. The beard is good, too good. The coat looks heavier than it should be. He keeps touching the cuff, like he's testing it, like a person who tries their own locks when nobody's watching. People lean forward for their turn and leave with candy canes and laughter that is relief more than joy. The elves, who are teenagers in green hoodies and not enough sleep, take photos with tablets and tell parents about the special frame packages. Someone asks about the wish tree, and an elf points to paper ornaments with handwriting from kids who want bikes, blankets, toothbrushes. Santa watches that tree a lot. Watches the names and the edges of those ornaments curling. "Okay," Rosa says, stepping forward with the line, a hand at Nora's back. "Okay," Nora whispers to her bear. Okay. When it's their turn, the elf with glitter on her eyelids says, "What's your name, sweetie?" And Nora freezes because the space is bigger up close. Santa fills it in a way that feels like weather does, present and everywhere. There's a smell like cedar and cold penny. The lights around the throne blink a little too slow. "I'm Nora," the girl says, finding her voice. She looks Santa dead in the eyes like she's decided to trust him. "This is Captain Buttons," Captain Santa says with the tiniest nod to the bear. His voice is smooth, but it catches on the word like someone who grew up somewhere that said captain and learned better. "You're both very welcome," the elf gestures. "Hop up, sweetheart." Nora climbs onto Santa's lap with mitten squeak. Rosa stands back, hugging her elbows, noticing the beard lace is invisible, noticing the boots aren't cheap vinyl, noticing how tired she is, which feels like a dangerous thing to admit even to herself. "What would you like for Christmas, Nora?" Santa asks gently. He leans in the way good listeners do. "One special thing." Nora looks down at Captain Buttons. She smooths his worn fur with her palms slow. Then she takes a breath that you can hear if you're close and says, "I want you to give this to another kid. A kid who doesn't have a toy. A kid who needs a friend." The elf's glittered eyes blink. The mother's mouth opens, closes. The jingle bell speaker hiccups like it heard a secret. Santa doesn't move for a second. Not a theatrical pause, something else. He looks at the bear, at the small hand holding it out. The bear's thread shows where a stronger stitch tried and failed. The mismatched buttons look up with a foolish love. "Are you sure?" he asks. "Because you're supposed to ask." because some gifts cost more than teeth can measure. Nora nods. I can sleep without him. Well, she winces a little. I can learn, but someone else might not have any bear to learn from. What about you? He asks. His voice tilts into something that could be a precipice. Who teaches you to be brave? Nora thinks about it. The mall smells like buttered pretzels and fake snow. Somewhere a child cries loud, then laughs harder. Mom, she says. Sometimes Captain, but mostly Mom. Rosa is trying not to cry because there is a rule in the back of her head carved like a saint. Don't cry in front of strangers. Santa opens his gloved hand. The red wool swallows the bear whole and then very gently doesn't. He accepts Captain Buttons, the way you'd take a candle flame from someone who lit it with their breath. Thank you, he says. It is not the standard answer. He means it like he's saying grace. Nora nods, relieved, then uneasy, watching Captain leave with a stranger whose job is to accept things. Maybe, she says, fidgeting, could you tell the other kid that he likes stories and the smell of cinnamon and he's okay with baths if they're not too deep? I will, Santa says. I will tell them exactly that. The elf says something about pictures, about smiling with the candy cane, and they take one that catches Nora in mid-worry, and Santa looking like a man who just found something he didn't realize he'd been searching for. Afterward, Rosa kneels like she's tying Nora's boot, but really she wants her face near her daughter's, because she needs to borrow some of the courage in it. You did a good thing, she says. The cough tries at her chest again. I'm so proud. Nora glances back at Santa, who is watching them leave with the kind of attention that could warm a room. He shifts the bear to his left arm. The mall hums on. Outside, it's not snowing. It's that damp cold that turns to glass on your knuckle. Rosa counts 3 crumpled bus tickets in her pocket and thinks about the envelope on the kitchen table at home with red letters on it. Thinks about Leo, 14, trying to be a man all at once like a baby deer trying to be a skyscraper. Mom, Nora says, tugging. My tummy's hungry a little and... Did we do it? Did we help? We did, Rosa says. We always can help. That's something no one can take. Behind them, the zipper on Santa's boot snags on a string from the red coat as he stands. He looks down at the bear in his arm, and then up at the door where the girl is already a bright hat moving across a grey floor. He shouldn't follow them. But he does. He tells the elf he's taking a break. Bathroom, water, beard maintenance, whatever. And nobody stops Santa. He steps into the crowd, quieter now than he's been all day, and slips into the distance between the girl's mitten and the mother's cough. From the balcony above the food court, he sees them share a single carton of fries, sees the mother give the last one to the girl and pretend she's full, sees the girl leave a napkin more careful than some people leave flowers. He checks the time. He has meetings, calls, decisions. He has a company that moves money around the world with the casual power of an ocean. The minutes glare at him from his pocket like scolding teachers. He adjusts the cuff of the red sleeve and keeps walking. On the bus, he stands near the back unnoticed, the bear tucked against his side the way people carry secrets. He tells himself stories. He is doing due diligence. He is curious about where kindness comes from. He is tired of numbers that answer nothing. He watches the girl lean her head against the window and draw a heart in the fog with her knuckle. They get off near a laundromat whose sign blinks undrammed in a headache-inducing way. The sidewalk has salt crust on it. Somebody's blowing leaves out of a doorway with a hairdryer. The mother takes Nora's hand and leads her toward a set of stairs that go down below street level. The light over the door buzzes like a trapped fly. There, stuck with blue tape a little too high on the metal door, is a paper with big red letters. Even from the far end of the block, the man in the red suit can read what red letters always say. Final notice, eviction. Effective December 23, Nora is sounding out notice with her finger when the door below creaks open and a shape fills the stairwell from inside. For a second, nobody moves. The paper flutters. The cold sits in the middle of them like a third person. Mom, Nora whispers. Rosa swallows so hard it hurts. She reaches back for her daughter without taking her eyes off the notice. Her fingers are shaking, which she hates. And just then, a red sleeve appears at the top of the stairs. A voice low and gentle says, "Wait, please," the voice finishes. Because that's the word that fits in a hallway like this. A small word made of warm cloth. Rosa turns fast, one hand out as if she can fend off whatever this is. She takes in the beard, the suit, the 2 clean boots. The mall, she starts and coughs. "We all ready, sir. We don't do door to door." Nora peeks around her mother's coat. "Santa followed us," she says in a whisper like a secret that's gotten tired of being kept. "I'm not," he begins, then catches himself, because whatever he is or isn't, the little girl believes. He lowers his voice. "I'm off duty. I just wanted to make sure you got home safe. That's all." The neighbor who opened the basement door blinks at the costume and lets out a confused laugh. "Okay, December," he says, stepping past them with a laundry basket. "Y'all got cookies in there? I'll take one." Rosa's mouth presses thin with embarrassment. "Thank you," she says, because a person who cleans up after other people for a living knows the power of politeness. "We're fine." He follows her gaze to the notice. The red letters look fresh, like they'll smear if you touch them. He says as gently as he can, "May I help?" Rosa recoils almost imperceptibly, a reflex. Pride stands up in the narrow stairwell and bumps its head on the low ceiling. She shakes her head. No, my brother's coming by. We'll work it out. Captain Buttons is with me," Nora says to him, like she owes him an update. "Do you think he'll be scared by himself?" "Not while I'm looking after him," the man says. It's true in a way he didn't expect. From somewhere down the hall comes a noise like a box dropped, and a voice like a laugh turned inside out. The building smells like other people's cooking and old water. "Mom," comes another voice from inside the apartment, older. Is that what? Even Leo appears in the doorway, hair smashed on one side from a nap he didn't plan to take. His eyes go wide. "Dude," he blurts, then looks at his mother. "Sorry, Santa?" "Go inside," Rosa says automatically. Leo's jaw works like a stubborn draw. "The super left the notice," he says, quieter. He tries to keep his words simple, like the hallway needs sentences that can fit through a keyhole. "There's a program. Through the mall, through the holiday-giving tree. Emergency assistance. It's sometimes we can make calls. Keep lights on. Keep people from having to move in the middle of winter, if you're willing." Rosa stares at him like he just offered to lift the building with one hand. A part of her hopes so hard it hurts. Another part refuses to fall in love with miracles that don't call the next day. "They always say there are programs," she says. "They always want your papers and a sorry face. By the time the stamp dries, you got a new problem." "I understand," he says, and he means it more than she knows. "But let me at least make a phone call. If it doesn't help, I'll leave you be." I promise. A hallway light flickers and steadies. The letter flaps in a draft from somewhere. Nora checks her mother's face the way small children check weather. Rosa presses her fingers to her forehead, then lets her hand fall. "Fine," she says. "The word a concession and a wish. If it's real, we'll thank you." He nods once, a soldier accepting a charge. He steps back up onto the sidewalk. The cold hits like a polite slap. He takes out his phone and scrolls past the names that run certain cities like quiet rivers. People you call when you want things to move. He taps one, waits. "Crane." A voice answers, clipped. "You alive?" "Seasonal," he says. "I need you to find a building manager of Oak and 9th basement apartments and convince him that his paperwork got delayed, that he put the wrong date on a notice. He'll get a bonus for the paperwork mistake. You got me? Is that legal?" The voice asks, but not like a person who cares. "It's Christmas," the man in red says quietly, the beard scratching his lip like a question he keeps forgetting to answer. "Make it legal enough." On it. He pockets the phone, breathes, and only then realizes he's holding the bear too tight. He loosens his hand and the worn fabric warms his palm. Captain Buttons looks up like he knows this hallway too. Inside the apartment, Everything is clean in the way poor people keep things tidy, because chaos is expensive. There's a couch that has turned into a bed over the years. A small nativity made from paper figures that once came in a cereal box stands on the windowsill like they're keeping watch over a parking lot instead of a desert. The heater knocks. The kitchen smells like beans and dryer sheets, like survival. "Can I get you water?" Rosa asks when he steps back in after the call, and the formality of it breaks something in him. He's the one in costume, the one who doesn't belong, and she's offering water like she's hosting. "I'm okay," he says. "Thank you." Nora pulls a chair out for him with a scrape. "You can sit," she says. "If you want, but your suit is fancy, so—" She looks at the chair like it might bite. Maybe not. He laughs, a small, warm sound he hasn't made without thinking in a long time. "I've sat in worse places in this suit." Leo leans against the doorframe and tries not to stare. He folds his arms like a shield and looks at the bear. "He gave you that?" he asks his sister, confused. "I gave it to him," Nora corrects, proud shining through her worry. "So another kid won't be lonely on Christmas." Leo's mouth softens. He looks at his mother, then at the ceiling, like trying to put all these feelings somewhere safe. "Her," he says, because he's 13 going on 20 and words are hard. The man's phone buzzes. He steps into the hall to answer, mindful of eyes and ears. "Yeah, manager's an uncle of someone's cousin," the voice says. "Thinks he's Tony Soprano of radiators. We got him." The notice is void. He'll put a new one up. February 1. Mary, relief swells in him like heat. It has an aftertaste of anger. At systems, at winter, at papers that can move people like furniture. "Thank you," he says. "Send him a basket." "No, send his mother a basket." He goes back in, composing his face like you do before you tell people news in a hospital hallway. "You have some time," he says. "The notice was a mistake. New one will come February. It's not a fix." "But it's a stay of execution," Rosa finishes, knowing the words too well. She sits down heavily, then stands again, because sitting feels like surrender. "Thank you." Nora climbs onto the couch and turns on the lamp that hums a little, as if it's not entirely sure it wants to be a lamp today. Do we still have to move?" she asks. "Not now," Leo says, looking at the floor. "Not now, little bean." And then the apartment goes dark. The hum dies, the heater stops. The city outside becomes a bouquet of distant, indifferent lights. "Shoot," Leo says. Too loud in the sudden quiet. "Breaker." The man in red has stood in a lot of rooms where silence is expensive. He knows this one. He pulls his phone out, opens another contact. Utility liaison for downtime mitigation, and says, "It's me, 312 Oak, basement, Unit B. You were working on amnesty lists this week." "Yes, now. I'll cover the arrears. Just turn them on. Don't say where the money came from. Use the fund. Yes, it exists. It exists because I said it does." He hangs up and looks at them, feeling more visible in the dark than he did in the light. "It'll come back," he says, "in a minute." "You keep making phone calls," Leo says. Not angry exactly, but wary. He is a boy who has seen promises come dressed as favors with strings attached. "Who are you?" "Santa," Nora says firmly. Like that's enough. He lifts his hands a little in surrender. "I just help sometimes," he says, which is true in ways that hide others. From the hallway outside, a thud, a muttered curse. A door shuts. From upstairs, someone's TV laughs without sound. The darkness sits heavier. Then the front door knocks, too hard, too official. 3 hits with raw knuckles on thin wood. "Ms. Alvarez," a woman's voice calls, formal. "It's Child Protective Services. We need to speak with you about Nora." For a second, nobody in the room breathes. The words hang in the air like frost. Rosa's hand flies to Nora's shoulder without thinking. "What?" she manages, the syllables scraping her throat. Why? The man in red feels his temperature drop. His instincts go loud and quiet at the same time. A contradiction he learned the year everything changed. He steps back into shadow, so whoever's at the door sees mother and child first, as they should. Leo beats him there, shoulders squaring, chin up like a challenge. "We're not doing this right now," he mutters. But he's a skinny kid in a hand-me-down hoodie, and the world was not built to be impressed by that. Rosa opens the door because she understands that closed doors are like red capes to bulls with clipboards. The hallway light makes a circle around a woman with a badge and tired eyes that have seen a lot and not enough. Behind her stands a younger man who looks like he'd rather be anywhere else. They both glance at the Santa suit and then try to act like it's the most normal thing they've seen all day. "I'm Miss Gaines," the woman says, stepping in the way officials do, assuming the shape of whatever room they enter. "We had a report of school absences and failure to adhere to a treatment plan for a chronic condition. We need to verify Nora's welfare. Absences?" Leo bristles. "She had a fever for like days. And Mom," Rosa's jaw tightens. "We have an inhaler," she says, her English precise because she learned it with flashcards and fear. "I took her to the clinic on Maple. The school asked for a note and the clinic printer was broken. I brought the inhaler to show them, and the secretary said I couldn't leave meds at the office. She exhales. It's all a little complicated." Nora edges behind her mother but keeps watching the woman's face with the serious concentration of a small scientist. The social worker softens a degree. "May I see the inhaler?" she asks. Rosa goes to the bedroom and returns with a small blue device in a zip bag, as if the bag could keep the world at bay. Miss Gaines checks the label, expiration date, dosage. "Okay," she says slowly. "I'm not here to look. I want to help. We just have to make sure the plan is being followed." "How many attacks in the last month, Nora?" Nora holds up 2 fingers, then 3 because she remembers the one in the bathroom when the steam helped. "Any of your visits?" "No," Rosa says. "We've been careful." "The heater breaks." She stops, then changes it. "We add blankets, and we boil water to make the air wet." The man in the red suit speaks for the first time since the knock, his voice quiet. "There's a clinic across from the mall that's better about paperwork. I could if you want. I can get you seen tomorrow. They can fax notes. Sometimes the machine even works." Miss Gaines looks at him, then really looks, seeing something under the costume. "And you are a friend," he says, "from the mall." "The lights went off," Nora offers, "because truth feels like a good gift." "But they're coming back," he said. Miss Gaines sighs. "We also received a report about utilities being disconnected, and an eviction notice. I know the season makes people braver than usual about calling us. Sometimes it's helpful, sometimes it's—" Her eyes flick to the paper still fluttering on the door. Premature. He hears the edge in her voice that's built out of too many Decembers. "The notice is delayed," he says. "I made a few calls. Utilities should restore any minute." As if the building decides to be polite at last, the lamp hums and flickers and finally commits. Light spills into the room. Everyone blinks like they've been underwater. The younger caseworker makes a note, glancing up. "Lucky timing," he says, "and it isn't entirely unkind." "I can bring the note from the clinic tomorrow," Rosa says. "We'll go first thing." Please don't." She's not sure how to finish that sentence, and the unfinished part is the hardest to keep in. Miss Gaines slides her card across the table, the gesture practiced and weary. "We'll check in," she says. We don't want to take kids from safe homes, Miss Alvarez. We want kids to be safe at home. Help us help you. The nurse at the school can be an ally if you ask. They have a warm line with the clinic, and the attendance office was not supposed to make a report without talking to you first. A slip of anger colors her voice. "I'll be following up." Leo exhales a breath he's been holding since he was 9. "So we're not. No one is removing anyone tonight," Ms. Gaines says, sharp enough to put the panic to bed. She turns to Nora, kneels until they're eye to eye. "You okay, kiddo?" Nora nods. "We made the tree people happy," she says, unspooling the story of Captain Buttons in a rush. "He's going to another kid. Maybe the kid will name him something new. You can do that, you know. He's very brave." His Gaines's mouth tips at the corner. "I believe you," she says. She stands and looks at the man in red again, as if pinning him with a small question. "We'll be in touch, Miss Alvarez." Call me in the morning after the clinic, please. When the door closes, the apartment sags like a body let out of a tight dress. Mom, Leo says softly, "You okay?" Rosa sits, then laughs a little at nothing, then rubs her eyes until stars bloom behind them. My heart's beating like a drumline, she says. But yes, we're okay, we'll be okay. The man in red lets out the breath he was holding. He glances at the bear. Captain Buttons has lived 3 lifetimes today. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a card that is not festive at all. It's heavy, thick, the kind a person puts on desks to tilt the world. He second-guesses himself, then slides it back into his pocket. Not yet. Tomorrow, he says instead. I'll meet you at the clinic. 9. Rosa hesitates. Pride stands up again, but doesn't blow the house down this time. 9, she says. Cool, Leo says, which is 13 for thank you, but please don't make a big deal out of it. He leaves with a tight smile and a promise to be on time. On the sidewalk, the cold feels like consequence. He walks without direction for a block, then another, then turns the corner into a lit strip of storefronts weeping tinsel. He stands outside a closed barber shop and stares at his reflection in the dark glass. Santa with a face too tired for myth. He props the bear against his hip and presses his forehead to the cool door. You're doing it again, he tells the reflection. You're getting in too deep, but he knows the truth. He chose deep the first time he put on the suit, the year after the worst year, when he realized that sometimes people tell the truth only to strangers with beards. He goes home, or whatever counts as home in December. The apartment is at the top of a building with a doorman who calls him Mr. Crane, and 2 elevators that race each other up 50 floors. He forgets to take off the beard until he's inside, and then he rips it away like it was a mask and not a comfort. In the mirror, Elliot Crane looks back. He is a man who looks like the words about, and almost, about 50, almost rested. About to say something he doesn't know how to finish. His sister's photo sits on the entry table, half hidden under mail. He pulls it free. Lily is 12 forever in the photograph. Freckles spilled across her nose like spilled salt. Mouth cocked in a joke that never got told. She is holding a stuffed polar bear with 3 stitches across its belly. He takes the photo and the bear he's carrying into the living room. The view is all expensive glass, and the city like a box of stars someone forgot to close. He places Captain Buttons on the coffee table and sits across from him, hands on his knees, like he's at a job interview with a toy. Okay, he says. Okay, I hear you. The backstory when it comes always ambushes him. Like the time he was 14 and Lily was having an asthma attack and their mother was at work and he decided she was being dramatic because he couldn't stand that she was fragile in a world that rewarded claws. He told her to calm down. He took too long to find the inhaler. The words, if only, build lives and ruins, and he has both. After she died, he built an empire out of if onlys. Health tech, urgent care chains, then real estate, then this and that because money behaves when you talk to it right. In December, he puts on a red coat and listens. He tells himself he's making amends, as if kindness were a ledger you could balance. He picks up Captain Buttons and runs a thumb over the frayed ear. You're a brave one, he says. You go places. You cross state lines without a passport. On impulse, he opens the closet and pulls down a battered box, labeled Santa, letters. He started keeping them the first year as a joke, then as a ritual, then as proof that people still asked for socks and not just iPads. In December, his living room becomes a paper church. He digs until his hand comes up with a letter from a boy named Marco, who asked for a jacket for his mother. Another from a girl named Tasha, who wanted a space heater that didn't spark. Another from a child with handwriting, like a windstorm, who wanted a dog that lives forever. He puts the letters in a stack with a map beneath it. He's already assigned interns to some of them, sent gift cards, made calls. Some he keeps for himself because you should never delegate miracles completely. His phone lights up with a message from a number he saved years ago under G. Back when he thought naming things after feelings might organize them. Gee, you're doing the thing again, aren't you? He huffs out a laugh. He types back, it's December. Gee, I know. Will you sleep at all this year? He doesn't answer. Morning comes easily to people who never went to bed. He showers, scrubs the glue from his chin, and ignores his executive assistant's calendar, invites like sheets he kicks off in the night. He puts the suit back on, because the clinic across from the mall knows Santa, not Elliot. At 8:59, he is waiting outside the glass doors as a woman with a keycard unlocks them. Cars spit steam into the cold. The coffee shop next door opens its gate like a yawn. He holds the door for Rosa and Nora and Leo when they arrive, late by 30 seconds and out of breath. You came, Nora says, like she wasn't sure magic works in daylight. I said I would, he says. Inside paperwork is a language. Everyone pretends they speak. He helps translate without letting it be obvious that he steers it. That the receptionist who gives other people wait times whispers their name to the nurse with a nod. He sacrifices a little anonymity in exchange for speed and hopes the beard carries the rest. The nurse, who has seen everything twice, taps the inhaler and scolds gently about dust and humidity and the importance of nebulizer treatments when it gets bad. I can put you on a list for a machine, she says. It's a non-profit, so consider her on top, the man in red says too quickly, then catches himself. If there's a way, there's always a way, the nurse says, but not with the optimism of a greeting card, with the determination of someone who wins by persistence. They leave with appointment cards and a printed note that says school. Nora is under medical care. Please excuse absences, etc. The paper is warm like bread. On the sidewalk, Rosa looks at him less like a miracle and more like a person. Thank you, she says, wait on the second word. You're welcome, he replies, and his phone buzzes with a number that could set cities on fire if he wanted. He declines the call. It feels like treason and seduction at once. Do you have to go to the North Pole now? Nora asks, concerned. I have to go to work, he says, which is not so different. Do you like it? Leo asks, unexpected. He looks at the mall, at his reflection in its polished doors. Some days, he says honestly. Today I like this part. Okay, Leo says, and something in his shoulders loosens. They cross the street to the bus stop. A wind knifes through the space between buildings with a precision that feels personal. The man in red pulls his collar up. Do you have a good winter coat, Leo? He asks too casually. It's supposed to get ugly tonight. Yeah, Leo says, instantly defensive. I'm fine, he's not, Nora says. He won't wear the hat with the pom-pom because it makes him look like a cherry. Snitch, Leo mutters. But he's smiling. The bus arrives and they climb on. The three of them a unit, the man in red a satellite. He almost rides with them, but work tugs like a persistent child. He raises a hand. Tomorrow, he says. Tomorrow, Rosa agrees. The doors hiss, the bus pulls away. A gust tears a poster loose from the shelter and slaps it against his knee. He peels it back absently. It's an advertisement for holiday overtime at a distribution warehouse across town. Good pay, it promises. Flexible hours. He thinks of Leo's square shoulders and newly softened eyes. The day roars at him after that. Meetings stacked like bricks, decisions with too many zeros. He moves through it like a red ship cutting black water. When his phone rings, it's a number he doesn't recognize, and he almost ignores it. Something makes him answer. Mr. Santa, a voice says, flustered. This is the ER at Mercy General. We have a Leo Alvarez here. He listed. There was an incident at work. A forklift and... He's asking for his mom, but we're having trouble reaching her. We need a consent on file for imaging. His hand grips the desk so hard his knuckles go bloodless. I'm on my way, he says. Already moving, already forgetting to hang up. The bear on the couch staring as if he knew this was coming. As if, once again, kindness had opened a door and let in a storm. Traffic is a frozen river, and he is not a patient man. He ditches the car 2 blocks from Mercy and runs, the red coat flaring like a flag in retreat. People shout Santa and yo. And one guy says, you look tired, bro, which is both true and incredibly unhelpful. Inside the time goes sludge slow. He announces himself at the desk and the receptionist, who has seen every costume since October, doesn't blink. Name, she asks. Leo Alvarez, he says. I was called. Family, she asks, fingers hovering. He hesitates just long enough for a flicker of something to cross her face. Friend, he says. Emergency contact. She points him down a corridor where curtains hang like nervous secrets. He finds Leo on a bed, pale and furious, his arm splintered, a smear of grease still on his cheek like war paint. A nurse is adjusting a monitor. Another is trying to convince him to lie still. Don't call Mom, Leo says instantly, even before he sees who stepped in. She'll freak. She'll think I'm... He spots the red coat. Relief and embarrassment wrestle across his features. Oh, you... What happened? The man asks, coming to the bed. He looks for blood, for bones at wrong angles, for the catastrophe he rehearses in his head every time he loves someone. It's... Leo grits his teeth. It's not as bad as it looks. Palate slipped. I tried to be a hero. Arm took the brunt. They think it's a hairline in the radius. Fancy word for tiny, the nurse nods. Lucky kid, she says. Bad luck, then good luck. We like that combo. He needs x-rays. We were waiting on consent. I'll sign, he says, then checks with Leo. Okay, Leo bites his lip, pride tasting like blood. Okay, he says, barely audible. They disappear toward radiology. He calls Rosa. It goes to voicemail. He calls again once, twice. On the third try, she answers, breathless. Hello, it's me, he says, forgetting not to say the part where he knows he's more than Santa now. I'm at mercy with Leo. He's okay. He needs x-rays. Come if you can. There is a sound like a pot set down too hard. What, she says. I'm coming. The line goes quiet and then she's back. Tell him I'm coming. He tells the nurse to put any charge that the charity fund won't cover on a card with a name no one recognizes. He signs papers with a hand that has done this before. For other kids, other Decembers, but his fingers shake anyway. Leo returns with a tech pushing the bed, a ghost of pain across his mouth. They said I can play baseball with a cast, he reports, forcing a joke. Which is hilarious because we can't afford bats. We can afford jokes, the man says. They're free if you tell them fast. Rosa arrives like a storm that got lost and turned into a person. She's breathless and furious and relieved and instantly gentle. She cups Leo's face and scolds him with kisses. Don't do this to me, she says. Don't be breakable. Sorry, Leo says, eyes bright and wet. I was trying to be useful. You are, she says fiercely. You are already. The doctor comes, does doctor things, pronounces the fracture small and the boy strong, prescribes rest and a follow-up. No lifting, he says to Leo. Let this heal. You've got one body. It's not a rental. They leave with a cast that other kids will want to draw on and a list of instructions that feel like rules sent from a gentler universe. In the waiting room, the man in red steps aside to make a call he's been avoiding. Buy it, he says into the phone, low. The building on Oak and 9th. Today. If the owner won't sell, by his death. If anyone asks why, tell them I like basements with character. You can't buy every building with a sad story. The voice on the other end says, half exasperated, half impressed. Just this one, he says. He looks at Nora, who has fallen asleep on the plastic chair, cheek against his red sleeve, mouth open. And the next one, the voice says, like a resigned prayer. And the next one he agrees, because sometimes patterns are what save you, not what break you. He takes them home in a car that looks like it belongs to someone else. He carries Nora up the stairs, his back remembering when he used to carry his sister like this, pretending it wasn't because she needed it, but because she was royalty. He sets the girl on the couch and covers her with a blanket, with a hole big enough to put a caring hand through. There's a knock at the door. For a terrible second, everyone freezes again. Then Leo says, it's probably the super. He heard, it's the super, and the landlord, and the sheriff, because paper plus badges equals boldness. The new notice flaps on a clipboard like a white flag with a price tag. It says something about policy and deadlines and exceptions expiring. It says something about must vacate by morning, Thursday the 23rd, before noon. It says what such notices always say. The world makes no special accommodations for people. Rosa reads it in silence, the kind of silence that feels like the last breath you take before you go underwater. She sets the paper down. "We had more time," she says carefully. "New information," the landlord says, sweating through his coat even though it's cold. "Office error. We corrected." The man in red watches this happen and feels an old, familiar dragon wake in his chest. He is good at what he does because he knows how to breathe fire without getting arrested. He keeps his voice as cool as the hallway. "Is there a reason?" he asks. "We're serving notices the week of Christmas. People don't generally schedule heartbreak like this for the holidays." "Spare me," the landlord says, rolling his eyes. "You're what, mall Santa? Stick to laps." The sheriff shifts, uncomfortable, but does not correct him. Nora wakes, sits up, hair wild, eyes smeared with sleep. She takes the scene in with that child speed that's faster than any adult's slow-motion dread. "Do we have to go?" she asks. Rosa smooths her daughter's hair with a hand that trembles and stops. "Maybe," she says honestly, because that's the only way she knows to talk to her kids. The man in red doesn't think not really. He steps forward onto the stairs where everyone can see him. He feels the eyes on him. Sheriff, super, landlord, and neighbor peeking through a cracked door. He knows he is about to do something he didn't plan to do yet. He knows there is no good time for this conversation, only better ones and worse ones. "Stop," he says, voice steady. "Put the boxes down. Put the boxes down." He takes a breath that tastes like iron and winter and the chalky glue of fake beards. "There will be no eviction today." The landlord barks a laugh. "Who are you to say?" The man in the red suit reaches up, hooks his fingers under the beard and pulls. It comes away with a soft whisper, like fabric confessing. Underneath is a face that doesn't belong to Christmas. Clean-shaven, exhausted. The sort of face you've seen on magazine covers you don't buy. It is not that he is famous exactly. It is that money lends people a kind of background radiation. Even strangers recognize the glow. Rosa's breath leaves her. "Oh," she says. The word is all vowel and disbelief. "You're Elliot Crane," the landlord says, mouth dropping open so fast you can hear the hinge. He tugs at his tie like it's choking him. "Mr. Crane, sir." "If I'd known." "That's the problem," Elliot says evenly. "You didn't know, you didn't care. You served a family with school notes and hospital bracelets on their table and noticed like it was pizza. You did it because the calendar said Thursday and your spreadsheet said vacancy opportunity." The sheriff clears his throat, uncomfortable but intrigued. "Sir, if the unit is paid," Elliot says, "as of 15 minutes ago, in full, for the next 12 months. From a fund I just created because sometimes hope needs a line item. And while we're at it, he turns to the landlord. "You and I are going to sit down and talk about boiler maintenance and hallway lighting and the price of dignity. I have a checkbook and lawyers and a very bad mood." The landlord tries to look outraged and lands on obsequious. "Of course, Mr. Crane, we can. Absolutely. There's no need to." This was, he gestures weakly at the sheriff, a misunderstanding. "It was a policy," Elliot says, quick and cold. "You can rewrite those." Nora stands up on the couch because she needs to be taller to see this properly. "So you're not really Santa," she says, puzzled. Elliot turns to her with the gentleness that surprised him the first time it showed up in his hands. "I'm not the North Pole kind," he says. "I'm the kind who has to use phones and pens. It's less glamorous." The suits are similar. Rosa's eyes are bright and incredulous, like somebody handed her an armful of sparklers and told her to make a lighthouse. "You, why us?" she asks, the words spilling out. "Why follow us? Why this?" Elliot looks down at Captain Buttons, at the frayed ear, the stubborn stitches. "Because your daughter gave away the only soft thing she had that still listened to her at night," he says. "Because sometimes kindness walks up to you in a mall and dares you to be brave too. Because when I was a kid, I failed someone I loved, and I promised I would spend the rest of my life failing less. Something like understanding passes over Rosa's face, and then something else, something like grief. She sits, hands flat on her thighs, like she needs to feel something solid. The hospital, she says softly, you paid for. I called and yelled until a computer did what it should have done the first time, he says. He doesn't look heroic, he looks tired. I'm not a miracle. I just have levers, and I get loud. Leo, cradling his new plaster armor, says, are we like your charity now? The word scrapes. He hates it more than he hates being hurt. No, Elliot says, and it matters how he says it, not quick, not canned. You are my neighbor, and I am your neighbor, with keys to some rooms you can't get into yet. If you'll let me, I want to use them for you. With you. You'd be surprised what opens when you say, we're doing this together. Rosa blinks. What does with us mean, she asks, cautious. She has walked corridors lined with false promises. She has taught herself to listen for the echo of truth. It means I bought the building this afternoon, he says, like it is both more and less than it sounds. It means leases will be fair, heat will work, lights will stay on. It means I am hiring in January at a bookstore I'm opening in the mall, not as a favor, as a job. And I would be lucky if you worked there, Miss Alvarez. If you want to. I like people who clean things other people don't see. They notice what matters. Rosa covers her mouth with her hand. It takes her a second to trust her voice. Books, she says. I like books. Me too, he says. And his smile this time is not the Santa one or the CEO one. It's the boy who used to hide in libraries because they were warm and smelled like dust that kept secrets. We can stock your favorites. Leo squints. Suspicion is a muscle he's built wrong and right. And you, Elliot says, are going to finish healing. And then you're going to decide what kind of man you want to be. If you want work, we can find good work. If you want a mentorship, we'll line one up that doesn't make you sit through terrible coffee. If you want to play baseball, I'll buy you a bat, a good one. One you'll hand to your kid someday and say, this one hit our first. Nothing to something, Leo looks away, because looking straight at hope is like staring at the sun. Maybe, he says, which is 14-year-old for I want to. Badly, and me? Nora asks, with the practical urgency of a 5-year-old whose priorities are arranged around bedtime stories and cookies. Elliot's mouth twitches. He reaches behind the chair where he dropped his bag when the sheriff knocked. He takes out a box, not fancy, wrapped in brown paper with red twine. He is careful as he hands it to her. I wasn't sure when I should give you this, he says. Now seems good. She tears carefully at first, because someone taught her that paper can be a kind of gift too. Inside is a bear. Not Captain Buttons, no one could be, but kin somehow. The fur is soft where the captain's was thin. The eyes are proper twins. Around its neck is a ribbon holding a tiny brass tag. The tag says, Captain's first mate. Nora gasps. The kind that makes adults of certain dispositions cry. He's beautiful, she says reverently. But she looks up serious. I don't need a new one if someone else. This one, Elliot says, just as solemn as yours. Captain Buttons is on assignment. He'll check in sometimes if you don't mind. He reaches into the box again and pulls out a small frame, the kind you'd put by a bed. Inside is a photo, printed from a phone. Captain Buttons sitting in a child's hands with chipped nail polish. A Christmas tree in the background. On the back, in a curly practice hand, someone has written, Thank you for my bear. He likes cinnamon. He likes stories. Me too, Eva. Nora holds the frame like a window. He's happy, she announces. Relief washing her clean. He likes her. I can tell, me too, Elliot says. And it surprises him that he believes it, not just as a phrase, but as a holy kind of fact. The sheriff, who has either decided that this scene is above his pay grade or exactly the reason he joined the job, coughs delicately. So, he says to the landlord, No eviction today. No eviction today, the landlord mutters, and it feels to everyone like a spell being broken. Neighbors have gathered in the hall, the way people do when they smell a story. Someone brings tamales from down the block just because that's a human being's move. Someone else brings an extension cord because community solves problems with whatever it has on hand. They stand around the little apartment like saints in sneakers. Elliot feels himself getting lighter and heavier all at once. He excuses himself to the stairwell, just for a minute, just to breathe air that isn't flavored with panic and relief. Rosa follows, leaning against the rail, eyes on the paint that peels in long strips like old wallpaper, pensively giving up. I don't know how to say the thing I want to say, she admits. Thank you is too small. Also, I hate owing people. I hate the feeling. I know, he says. So don't owe me. Owe the world. Pay it forward when you can. Pay it back when someone tries to take it from you. She studies him, his bare face, the hint of a red mark on his chin where the beard elastic sits. Your sister, she says quietly, like a question she's afraid to ask. He nods. Lily, he says, asthma. I didn't listen hard enough one night. I've been trying to get better at listening ever since. Rosa puts a hand on the rail beside his. You are, she says. Getting better, she smiles slightly. You listened to a 5-year-old who gave away her bear. That's honors class listening. He laughs, breath fogging in the cold stairwell. She's a very loud whisper, he says. They go back in and are immediately pulled into a current of community. The super blusters apologies and is put to work fixing a door that has stuck since July. The landlord stands awkwardly until a neighbor hands him a paper plate and says, You look like you need a Tamil, and he eats it like a penance. Late, when the apartment has quieted, and Nora has fallen asleep with first mate tucked under her chin and the framed photo propped on the milk crate that serves as a nightstand, Elliot stands by the window and listens to the heater knock like it's agreeing with his choices. I don't know how this ends, he admits to the glass, which shows him his own face and the city like galaxies. Happy, I hope. Earned, I hope earned. Rosa says behind him, We'll do the work. She joins him at the window. You work too much? Only in December, he says. And all the other months. She nudges him with her shoulder friendly. The bookstore? I mean it, he says. Management training if you want it. Health benefits that actually benefit. Hours that let you be a parent. Her mouth wobbles. Okay, she says, which is a small word that sometimes opens a very big door. I'll try, and the building. Leo asks from the couch where he pretends to sleep but doesn't. You're for real, Elliot says, which means I'm going to need you to complain when the stairlight goes out, and to tell me when the laundry machines eat quarters. I can't fix what I don't know. Leo snorts. I can complain, he says. I'm basically a professional. Promotion, Elliot says gravely. From professional complainer to community consultant, Leo smirks. Comes with a jacket? We'll see, Elliot says. Christmas Eve brings snow, finally. The kind that looks like a movie and leaves smudges on your eyelash. Elliot spends the morning in the mall in the suit because some rituals earn their keep. He watches other small hands give him lists that are partly pleas and partly poems. He sends interns like elves to buy space heaters and winter boots. He makes calls. He laughs at a baby who is very upset by the beard, and then very upset by the lack of beard, when he lifts it to show her it's safe. At noon, he takes Rosa to the old bookstore space that smelled like dust and fell asleep 2 years ago. He shows her a floor plan he sketched on the back of a meeting agenda. She looks at the boxes like she can already see shelves groaning with good weight. He talks about story time and quiet shares and hiring kids after school to shelve returns. She nods in a rhythm like a heart deciding something. At 3, he takes Leo to a sporting goods store and buys him a bat and the feeling that he might be worth investing in. Leo bats his eyelashes and acts cool, and then smiles so hard he almost falls over. He writes his sister's name on a piece of tape and wraps it around the handle. Nor he will fix the spacing later. At dusk, he returns to the basement apartment with a carpenter and an electrician who owe him favors and come like saints with tool belts. They fix a door and a light and put in a new outlet where the old one sparked when you looked at it wrong. The neighbor with the tamales brings flan this time because good news needs dessert. When the first star hangs stubborn over the parking lot, Elliot asks, "May I?" and starts a fire in the small fireplace that someone painted shut in 2008. The flames are gentle, a hearth more metaphor than heat, but the room fills with a crackle that sounds like something beginning. He takes the framed photo of Captain Buttons and sets it on the mantel, next to the paper nativity that the heat curls just slightly. He takes out another frame from his bag, this one with a picture of a girl with freckles and a polar bear with 3 stitches. He doesn't say her name out loud. He doesn't have to. He puts the 2 frames together. They look like relatives. "Who's she?" Nora asks, yawning around the question. "My sister," he says simply. "She liked bears too." "Oh," Nora says. She leans her head on his arm and it feels like being allowed to try again. "She would like me." "Yes," Elliot says, the word a blessing. Very much midnight comes soft. They go to the church on the corner that never tries to convert anyone, just offers a place to sing Silent Night badly and mean it. Nora falls asleep on the pew, and Rosa cries a little during the verse about mother and child, and doesn't hide it because crying in the dark surrounded by strangers who are also crying is what church is for sometimes. In the morning, there are presents under a thrift store tree that looks like it learned patience the hard way. There are socks and a winter hat with a pom-pom that Leo wears without complaint, and a new coat that fits Rosa like dignity. There is a card in an envelope addressed to Nora in spiky handwriting. "To the girl who made my Christmas. From the kid who got your bear. P.S. I'll take good care of him. Promise." There is also a thick envelope. Elliot hands to Rosa at the end. After the laughter, after the paper has been balled and thrown and the floor looks like confetti. "What is it?" she asks, wary again because big envelopes rarely bring good news. "Boring things," he says, which is to say useful. Lease, keys, health insurance paperwork, the schedule for the bookstore if you want to start next week. A list of local babysitters the nurse at the clinic swears by. The kind of magic someone has to type for it to count. Rosa takes it slowly, like it might break or explode. She opens it and reads the first page and the second, and the parts about heat included. Her shoulders lower 1 inch, then another. She looks up. "It feels too easy," she says, apologizing for the easiest good thing in years. "It will not be," he says. "Nothing worth keeping ever is, but it will be possible. And you won't be alone." She nods. "Okay," she says again, opening another door. They eat pancakes for breakfast and pretend they are not a treat, because pretending sometimes makes the treat last longer. Neighbors cycle through, bringing casseroles and gossip and the newsletter someone makes on a printer with a streak of black ink down one side. The landlord's mother sends over a plate of cookies, and everyone takes one because the world is bigger than grudges when you make it be. In the afternoon, they go out into the snow. Nora falls immediately and laughs, because falling is funny when you have people to pick you up. Leo throws a ball too hard and then not hard enough, and then exactly right. Rosa tips her head back and catches flakes on her tongue and looks like a woman with a horizon again. Elliot stands with his hands in his coat pockets and lets the cold bite. He watches this little family run in a parking lot and realizes he feels not absolved. That's a church word and a trap, but appointed. He thinks of the boy at the clinic who had to put his inhaler back on the shelf because the copay was rent. He thinks of the nurse's warm line and the school's cold one. He thinks of boiler rooms and notices and stairwells and cupboards with exactly 3 spices. He looks at the bear tucked under Nora's arm, the first mate, and imagines Captain Button somewhere else, having his own Christmas, listening to a different child breathe. "Hey," Leo says, suddenly beside him, breath coming in frosted puffs. "Thanks for—" "You're welcome," Elliot says. "For what it's worth, you don't owe me anything." Leo shrugs, looking at his shoes. "I know, but I want to be the kind of person who says thank you anyway." "That," Elliot says, cheeks aching with the cold and the smiling, is a very good kind of person. Evening settles again early, like it always does in December. Inside, the apartment glows with the kind of warmth that has nothing to do with radiators. Elliot gathers his coat, tucks his beard into a bag, because he will still need it this week. He stands awkwardly by the door until Nora notices and barrels into him for a hug that knocks a laugh out of him. "Don't be gone long," she says, bossy. "We have chapter 2 tonight. What are we reading?" he asks. "Anything with bears," she says, then reconsiders. "Or trains, or both." "On it," he says, saluting. Rosa walks him to the hallway. For a moment they stand in the place where strangers become something else. "We'll be okay," she says. "Not forever, because no one is. But for a while. For a while is how forever starts," he says. She pauses, then leans in, startling herself as much as him, and kisses his cheek like a benediction. "Merry Christmas, Elliot," she says. He touches the spot as if checking that it happened. "Merry Christmas, Rosa." He steps out into the stairwell and the cold air in the world that wants to stay the same, and maybe doesn't get to, not this time. A pulls the door shut gently. He goes up the steps 2 at a time, heart light heavy, plans already stacking themselves like sturdy boxes, leases and lights and a bookstore story hour that will make kids sit cross-legged and forget to breathe because a sentence turned a corner and surprised them. On the landing, he pauses and looks back down, through the little gap where the door doesn't quite meet the jamb yet. He'll have that fixed tomorrow. He can see a slice of that apartment. A girl twirling with a bear. A boy trying not to smile too hard. A woman counting blessings instead of bills for once. The fire in the small fireplace makes a noise like applause. He puts the beard back in the bag and tucks Captain Buttons' photo into his coat pocket. He steps out into the snow, which keeps falling with the stubbornness of joy. The city is loud and lovely and cruel, and he has work to do. But tonight, he lets himself be a man who followed a little girl home from a mall and didn't make that sentence end the way it usually does in bad news stories. He lets himself be the kind of Santa who takes off the beard and keeps the promise. On the wind, faint but real, he hears Lily's laugh, the one she never got to finish, and for once it doesn't hurt. It rings like a bell that keeps good time. He breathes out, breath clouding, and turns toward the future, like it's a street he knows by heart. Footprints filling with new snow, the path behind him stitched up by a line of people who decided to carry one another forward.